my body doesn't react to anything anymore. Like I struggled, whether I ate, whether I didn't eat, whether I did some binge diet, I'd lose and gain it back. It never really, whether I did weights 7 days a week. And that's why when I realized that the tonal was actually working and, now I'm down 90 pounds, I realized, wait, there's something really here. Like, this is not just a, pop in, pop out type of thing that's going to go away tomorrow. Like, the tonal will always be a part of my life. I will probably be the oldest person to work out on tonal. And I'm sure the coaches will finally be like, Shelley, you need to retire from the tonal.
Time to hit the gym, better do it smart. Get your own coach, there where you are. Start the day right, there in your home. With the smartest gym in the world, ready, set, go. Smart handle, smart bar, smart training, there you are. Customizing it right, AI, form advice. Superset will show you what it's all about. It's a total workout.
Welcome to the Superset Podcast, episode 40. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. Hello.
Hey there.
Hi.
Hi.
How you feeling?
I'm okay. I'm tired.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to talk about?
I don't really care.
Oh, okay. Everybody congratulate Crystal. She just had her first colonoscopy.
Yes, I'm too young. For those of you that are thinking, oh, she looks way too young to have her first colonoscopy. That is because it was a few years before the required date, but I have family history.
I got mine because I'm 50 and I had a coupon.
Right. So 2 for 1. Now I have family history, so they thought it best that we just go ahead and do it. So I did. And now I'm here.
Yeah. Ta-da.
So
you weren't near as fun waking up from the anesthesia
I think
as I was.
That was just an excuse. I think you just were like, I can say anything I want right now.
Well, that's kind of how I live my life, though.
I know. So just so you guys know, the first thing Tom said was another woman's name.
Oh, that's taking things a little out of context. I reacted to another woman's name because the nurse introduced herself. I was still loopy, and the nurse says, "Hi, I'm Brittany," and I said, "I'm so glad you're free." And then you didn't understand.
Yeah, I was like, "What the f*** are you talking
about?" Like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "She's Brittany."
Yeah, the nurse got it before I did.
Yes.
Clearly she had heard her share of Brittany jokes.
Yes, but not quite like that.
No.
Yes. Yeah. I normally don't make jokes about people's names because I feel like there's no joke I'm going to come up with
that they haven't already heard.
They haven't heard, and it's not like I'm above it. But I'm just like, I like to try to have a new take on things. And I'm just like, if your name is Wienermobile, you've heard a million Oscar Mayer jokes. What am I going to bring to the table? Right? Seems unlikely. So I don't even try.
Right.
So I did it one time, though. And so I was a girl I knew whose last name was Light. And she's commented that I'd never made fun of her name. And I was like, what am I going to say? Like, oh, Kathy Light, half the calories of a regular Kathy. And she just was like, oh, my God, no one's ever said that one before. It's always been about light bulbs. And I was like, hey, maybe I'm better at this than I thought. So anyway.
Tonal.
We're
here about tonal.
Yes. What, pray tell, do you have in store for people this week?
Well, can I just say that I am excited to finish up my first program that I've done in a very long time. I have one more workout left in 4 Weeks to Fat Loss 2.
Yeah.
And I just felt like people needed to know that. It's not all about my colonoscopy.
You're more than just your colonoscopy.
That's right. Anyway, this week we have articles about tonal. Tonal has appeared in articles.
They're popping up more and more.
I know, which I love seeing. Yeah. It's very cool. We have some fun posts to talk about from some of the instructors. We also have a new feature to discuss. We have new content to discuss. And there's a lot of things happening in the month of March that we need to talk about as well.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Or follow. Sorry, I'm supposed to say follow.
It's follow these days.
That's what all the best practices recommend.
Yeah.
Be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, if you'd be so kind, maybe leave us a review so people that come along after you know we're worth checking out. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/supersetpodcast. While you're there, like the page, join the group. And of course, don't forget, you can watch these episodes if you'd like at our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/theclipout, which is the name of our other podcast. But these live there as well. So there's all of that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Look who's talking about Tonal.
I guess we'll kick the show off by taking a peek at the Tonal blog. Interesting post about Brenna Huckaby.
Yeah, so Brenna Huckaby is a Paralympian and a world champion, and obviously she's using the Tonal. It's really cool for a couple of reasons. One, we have yet another amazing athlete using the Tonal, and I'm hearing more and more people telling me that like these ads are like the game changers for them. So they are working. So Tonal, if you are listening, it's working.
Yeah.
Also, how cool that they are showcasing the adaptability features that Tonal has, because Brenna doesn't have a right leg. One of her legs is like, she had to modify with a prosthetic, and so it's great to see all the different ways that you can use it. That's what being a Paralympian is all about.
Totally. And if you're ever at a trivia night and somebody asks you what city the Paralympics took place in, then it's always the same city as the
regular
can we say regular Olympics? I don't know
another word for it.
But
traditional Olympics?
Yeah, but they use the same all the same places and arenas that have been built and all that. They just move in a week later and do it all there, which I think is pretty cool. I didn't know that until I got the question wrong at a trivia night. So that's my little life lesson for you.
Oh, well, thanks for making sure we all know the answer the next time we're at a trivia night.
Yes. Now, if we are ever at a trivia night with you as a listener, right, please get that one wrong out of respect, because you only know it because we told you. So you should get the question wrong, so we will move one question ahead of you in the contest.
That seems fair. That seems fair. Yeah. Like, what set of circumstances would that ever occur?
You know what?
You never know.
You never know. And then you're going to find yourself in that, failure to plan is planning to fail or something like that.
Yeah. Insert instructor quote here.
Yes. And while we're looking at the Tonal blog, they have another post. The training phase is the key to maximizing muscle gains.
Yeah, this one came out at the beginning of February, but I didn't read it right away. And it's really cool because it has a lot of different ways. And maybe we've talked about this before. I don't know. But it talks about how you need time to recover. So like first you work out hard and then you recover, and that it goes through the different phases, like your alarm phase. So that's whenever your homeostasis is disrupted during a workout. Then you have your reaction phase, and that's when your muscle tissue is repairing, and that's when you need to recover. And then you have exhaustion phase, and that is if you reach that phase, you're overtraining. So it's pretty cool. Shows the different load and recovery reactions in a graph in the article, so you can kind of understand what your body kind of goes through. It's like you want it to work hard, you want it to react and have enough of a reaction that you're growing your muscle, if hypertrophy especially is your goal, or just strength in general is your goal. But if you go too far, now you're in overtraining and you actually lose some of the benefit that you're getting from exercise. Not to mention, you of course can put yourself at risk of injury. And then if you injure yourself, now you might be out for weeks. And then what happens then? Now your strength goes down.
There is too much of a good thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I think this is a really good article. I love that they're starting to include findings from the Tonal Strength Institute in these blogs. So They also give you some tips on how you know when you need recovery. So it's like, hey, maybe not just jump straight into another program. Maybe take a week of active recovery. So not do nothing, but maybe not do strength training. Or if you always are pushing yourself hard and you're having a day where like you get up and it's just, you're not feeling it. You didn't get to sleep very well. Maybe you've got a lot of stress, whatever. Then if your body is saying, then this is a good time to listen. So I really like the message that's coming across here.
Yeah. My body said that in my 40s and 30s.
I was like, I think your body has said that your whole life.
It still says it. Who are we
So
kidding?
you got to be careful about listening to your body. There's times to listen. There's time to ignore it, Tom.
Yes. Especially when we're talking about me. Your body may vary. And for your sake, I hope it does.
You're doing good these days. So good.
And then Men's Health Muscle, which I don't, not familiar with that.
I'm not either. The only reason I included this is because somebody posted it in the OTC and the official Tonal community on Facebook. And I thought it was cool because it's basically just men's health, I think. It's just men's
like
health.
A division of that? I couldn't tell for sure.
I only say that because the logo looks like the Men's Health logo from the magazine.
I have no idea what the Men's Health magazine logo looks like.
I don't know why I know, but I do.
I think I know why.
It's the articles, honey.
Yes. Yes. Of course. This is the first time in history a woman's ever been able to say that to a man. Ready for the articles.
But they do a review on Tonal and it's very thorough. So they go through the installation, the unboxing, their very first workout, everything. And so I think I know it's a really good breakdown of why Tonal is so awesome. And I love seeing these things. I like how they talk through the different advanced fitness modes and how it's very difficult to do things like chains in a traditional gym setting, whereas Tonal makes it so easy and you don't need additional equipment. It's amazing.
Coaches in the news.
We had a couple of nice posts from instructors this week that you wanted to spotlight.
I did. Yeah. This first one is from Liz Letchford, Dr. Liz, also known as Dr. Liz.
Yes.
So she says, we're a messy bunch and she's interested in hearing your experience with your relationship to unpredictability. And then she goes through why. And she talks about how being a doctor, learning about the human body and its functions, she learned that there's a lot of things in our body and that our body does is unpredictable. And so when she was learning and she was a medical student, it kind of stressed her out whenever things didn't fit inside the box of like, here's very clearly what it should be. And I really I felt that very much.
Yeah, I was like, gee, I wonder why this resonated with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it causes anxiety to not know the answer. And I think that it's very brave to be able to push through that and to still become a doctor, despite the fact that that's kind of anxiety that's caused anxiety with her. And
but that's probably also part of how she did get her doctorate, right? Is that she structured her life in a way where there's predictability and routine, and that helped her be able to focus on her studies in a way that maybe other people can't.
Yeah.
Said the guy who graduated from college when he was 45.
Only because you had one class left to do.
Right. You're making my point.
I know. But I just thought it was a really cool post, and she asks for people's feedback on things that they have experienced that have been unpredictable and messy and that they've learned from. And I just think that's a really beautiful thought, that we don't have to, everything doesn't have to be neat and tidy because life isn't neat and tidy. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, Tom.
I have not. Thank you for making me aware. But, it's like the great philosopher once said, whatever happened to predictability?
Yeah, exactly.
And then Allison Tibbs also had a post you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I really love this. So Allison talks about her journey, and she talks about how it's been a journey that she's had anxiety and depression, and she says it's felt like a 1,000-mile journey because it's been a major part of her life. And I
have anxiety looking at this picture. Is she walking down these wooden stairs barefoot? She's going to get splinters.
I don't know, Tom. Maybe she's just doing a photo shoot and it's just a pretty picture.
I hope so.
Maybe she has flat sandals on.
Okay.
I'm going to assume she has flat sandals.
I hope so. I'm worried for her.
I feel like you're really taking away from the point of this by distracting everyone with her shoes. But regardless, she says that she suffered in silence and solitude for years. And then she decided to make a change to fight for her mental health. So the very first step for her was finding a therapist. And at the time, that was taboo, especially in the Black community. No one in her family or close circle spoke about therapy. And she talks about, while her story is not unique, she is grateful that she had the courage and resources to invest in her healing. She says many women and girls, especially in the Black community, don't have access to care or the resources, and that breaks her heart. And the whole point of this whole post was leading back to her Give Back Alive class that she did in February. It was February 25th. And it was to raise money and awareness to the company or the foundation called the Love and Foundation. The Loveland Foundation. Sorry, still have medication in the system. And they are creating spaces, access to resources, and to even provide funding to Black women and girls who are in need of healing and therapy. And I just think that's wonderful. And I think it's really brave, again, of her to share. I love that these tonal instructors are just so real and they put stuff out there. They're not trying to be superhuman. They're not trying to be these people that are above everyone else. They're trying to say, I deal with the same struggles that you deal with. And that means a lot to me.
New tonal features.
So I don't know if this officially counts as a new feature, but I guess it's a new aspect, perk.
No, it's a new feature.
Is it a feature? Okay.
Yeah.
You can now stream on-the-go content without Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So the reason it's a new feature is you always had the ability. Well, not always. It was another new feature that Tonal had added to the app a while back, where you had like on-the-go workouts you could do, but you had to have Wi-Fi to get them started. And so the new feature, the new aspect of this feature is that you no longer need Wi-Fi to be able to do it. All you need is any kind. You can be disconnected from the Wi-Fi. So as long as you have the newest mobile app, you can now take a workout. That's a huge thing. So like, for instance, you know how we have the cell phone packages that we have to get when we go on a cruise?
Right.
Well, before I wouldn't have been able to do the tonal workouts without using Wi-Fi. Now I can do the tonal workout.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
It's a really big deal.
Yeah,
like,
if you're in port, this falls under first world problems. But
absolutely.
if you're in port, you can get a signal and you don't have to do their Wi-Fi.
But a lot of people, like, they might live out in the middle of a place that has spotty Wi-Fi or things like that.
I just had this when I was in LA for work because the Wi-Fi at the hotel wasn't working, and like apparently I was the only one at the hotel who wanted to use it, because when I called the front desk, they acted like I was insane.
They did.
And they just gave me the number of their Wi-Fi company and they were just like, you deal with it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but then you got the super secret Wi-Fi.
I did. So that was kind of worth it. But still, I was like, my first thought was like, I can't do a tonal workout in my hotel room because I won't have Wi-Fi to get on.
Well, now you can. Now when you travel, you would have been able to, regardless of the Wi-Fi at the hotel.
New tonal content.
As always, there is tons of new content for people.
We are so lucky to have all this content. This week, there are a bunch of new quick fits. So we've got Total Chest Pump with Coach Paul, 11 minutes, totally focused on building up your chest. We've got Chest and Buys with Coach Liz. So it's your upper body, 15 minutes, new yoga, mellow yoga with Coach Francis, which is a full body, 26 minutes. New warm-ups, pre-show pump with Coach Woody. So this is going to get you ready for the live workouts, 10 minutes, full body. New recovery, limber lower body with Coach Woody. This is 15 minutes of focusing on your lower body, which is perfect if you have been sitting in a chair all day, or if you're recovering from a really hard leg day on Tonal. Either one works. New cardio, sweaty shape up with Coach Woody, 18 minutes, full body cardio. This is perfect for if you have limited time. All kinds of good stuff.
Awesome.
Tonal Book Club.
So this month's Read Between the Rep selection is Roar
Yes, it is.
That's a word I have trouble with.
Roar.
I feel weird saying it. Roar.
Well, it's so you might remember again when we talked to Troy from the Tonal Strength Institute, one of the individuals he talked about that was heavily involved is Stacy Sims, and she's a PhD. She is like one of the foremost people who has been focused on how women specifically respond to exercise and how like different parts of their life are going to respond to exercise differently. So like you might be before you start having a cycle or after you've had a cycle while you're pregnant. There's like all these different versions of ourselves that women go through. And because of that, physically, we might respond to exercise in a different way. And her whole thesis is that we are not small men. And so this book is what we're talking about this month. And so Stacy Sims is the author of it. And that's going to be very exciting. I am super excited to read this one. I've already got it downloaded to the Kindle. I'm ready to go.
That? And I guess then that leads us into our
Tonal Talks.
This month's Tonal Talk, or I guess they're not monthly.
They are. Well, there's two of them each month.
Okay.
So, and both of them revolve around Stacy Sims.
Okay. Well, we'll let you talk since you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So, there's two of them this month. The first one is going to be on March 8th. So by the time that this airs, it will probably be happening or have happened. And it's going to be a tonal talk that's going to be, she's going to explain fitness and nutrition specific for female athlete health and performance. And she's going to talk about that. There's not going to be like a live Q&A on 3/8. But then on March 23rd, that's when they're going to have a Q&A that's going to be with Stacy Sims, where any of the guests have a chance to submit a question ahead of time. And then Dr. Sims will be answering those questions. So since it's toward the end of the month, what that means is that you'll have a chance to read the book, have some questions prepared, send them into the Tonal Talk, and boom, listen in on the 23rd and be educated.
Or you could watch, I guess, the first Tonal Talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like instead of having to like at the end of it when they're like, hey, we got 10 minutes for questions, and you're like, and then it's over and you're like, you know what I should have asked. So now you get a little bit more time to plot your course.
Exactly. I'm super excited about this one. And can I just say at this point that I also read we're in March, February's book. It was Failing Up. And I just have to say that I went into it a little confused. I'm not going to lie, because it was about the guy from Hamilton that plays Aaron Burr. And I was like, what does acting have to do with working out? I was like, why are we reading this book? But we're reading this book because it can apply to any situation. And it talks about how that things that you wouldn't, basically, if you never try anything, then you don't fail, but you don't go outside your comfort zone. And when you go outside your comfort zone, even if you fail, you have learned something. So fail often and that's going to lead you in an upward trajectory. And it was a fabulous book. I really enjoyed it. And it's a really short read. Like, I love those that like it's just like in and out, because sometimes like biographies, they can lead you astray. You never know where you're going. And sometimes it's like 2 weeks later and you're like, why am I reading this?
Yeah.
But this one was really good. So
especially because sometimes biographies, I found, this is just in general, like they start with the early years and you're like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't get to the part where you're doing things I know about.
Right. And since I didn't go in with any kind of expectation, we did start with his early years, but he moved through quickly.
Yeah.
He moved through it very quickly. All of it moves very quickly. So it was good. Very good.
In case you missed it.
So the March Community Challenge is upon us.
Yes. So this month we have another one that's like pairing two instructors. This one is going to start with Coach Amy's Beginner Heat program for the first 2 weeks and then finish with Coach Woody's intermediate 30-minute muscle program. And earlier they had an entire question and answer session that you could do. It was at the very end of February. So if you didn't get to check that out and you still want to join, you still have time. That was on February 28th. It's out there on the official Facebook community. And there's a whole group that you can go to specifically for this challenge session. And then, of course, there's going to be all kinds of different workouts throughout the month, not just these two programs. They sprinkle in lots of other workouts throughout the month. So you make sure you get your recovery and your cardio time. It's a really good program.
And then I guess while we're talking about community stuff, we should address the March community calendar. Yeah.
So we have how many different groups now? We've got like 4 or 5 different groups. And this calendar that Tonal puts together, it's a way for you to be able to see everything at the exact same time. So this has events for Tonal moms, Tonal dads, Tonal LGBTQ and allies, and then the Tonal XXL community. And it has the different instructors that are speaking in these groups, the days, the times, and it's called the Partner Community Events Calendar. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. And apparently there's going to be more partner communities added in the future.
Interesting. I'm interested to figure out what other communities they're going to pull in.
I am too.
And while we're talking about community stuff, there was I guess one of the mom group had a thing that you thought was interesting about mom pooch.
Yeah, well, and so that was another one of these instructor talks. And so Coach Amy did an instructor talk for the partner community Tonal moms, and she talked about mom pooches. I guess that's something that she gets questioned about a lot. Like how do we get rid of it?
Because I'd like to get rid of mine.
Yeah. Well, you didn't have a baby, so you've got a whole different set of issues. But for real, like I joke about that, but in all seriousness, how to correct that is different for men versus women.
Sure. Especially if you had a C-section.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it's another good example of a great conversation that Tonal instructors are having. So if you missed that one and you have interest, that happened also at the end of February. And I think it was on February 21st, and it was in the Tonal Moms group. So you can check it out there.
Checking in with the Tonal community.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Shelley Black. Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are y'all?
Good. We're to get a chance to chat with you today. You know what I like to always start with on these interviews is how did you originally find out about Tonal? And when was that in the timeline of things?
Well, actually, my husband, a lifetime ago, was a personal trainer. He has his degree in exercise science from Texas A&M. And so we have always been in the gym.
Okay.
100%. Like when we got married, he said, we will have a gym membership until the day we die. And I thought to myself, God help us. Okay. So, we'd go into the gym, probably 5-6 days a week. And, then COVID happened and gyms closed, and we have an elliptical at the house. We have a spin bike at the house. We could rent equipment, honestly. We've got a little bit for everybody, but yeah, he's always been a big proponent of weightlifting. And, so pandemic happens and we're kind of looking at each other going, well, the gym's closed. Well, okay. I hadn't been on the scale, and I don't even know when the last time I was on the scale was. And he comes to me and says, I know what we're doing. And I went, okay, what are we doing? And he said, I've done the research. We're getting a Tonal. And I went, okay. He's like,
very bold.
Had you heard of it at that point? Was this new?
I had heard of it, and like in the passing, as I'm eating my ice cream, watching TV, he's talking to me about the Tonal, and I'm like, yeah, great, whatever. Could you pass, pass the chocolate chips or and like I said, working out has always been a part of our life, but yeah, he came to me and was like, the Tonal, we need to look at it. I'm like, okay, sure. So we are actually located in a suburb of Houston,
Okay.
in the Woodlands. So we're on the north side of Houston. And the only Tonal store at the time was in the Galleria,
Okay.
which is about an hour away from where we were at. So my husband's like, yeah, you know, in pandemic, everything's closed. So he's like, come sit down. And I'm like, how long is this going to take? You know, my show's coming on. I got stuff to do. Like, oh, okay. And he's like, no, like legit, you need to sit down and pay attention. And I went, okay. And so I went, yep. So I sat down and he started showing me the tonal. And, you know, he used to do cardiac rehab on heart patients. He is engrossed in medical. And for him to be like, this is something we need to seriously consider, I went, okay, I'm listening, and kind of sat up and went, you know, what's it going to take? Like, what's it going to take? How big is it? Where can we put it? What, you know, like, we need some more of the information before we just go buy this. Like, where can we try it out?
Right.
And so my husband's like, well, you know, the stores are all closed. We can't try it out. But I've done a bunch of research, and I'm like, all right, we're taking a jump off this ledge. And I went, okay, sure. If it'll get you to be quiet, we'll get.
So you guys were all in sight unseen. Like you went for it.
Sight unseen, went for it. You know, he measured out walls in the house and was like, oh, what can we do? The room I'm in that he did put sound panels in, because of my bold voice. He actually built a Murphy bed, because we're in a 4-bedroom house. We go from, you know, both having offices to him working from home some, to me coming home going, okay, well, I've got 2 monitors, a laptop, you know, where do I go?
Where is all this going to go?
Where's all this going to go? And he was like, you know what? I think I can build a Murphy bed. And I went, okay, all right.
He's very handy.
Yeah, he is.
Yes, he's actually good to have around. He is very handy. So he's like, so the tonal can go on this wall and the Murphy bed can go on this wall, and it'll all work out. And I thought, you know, we don't have a lot of people come to visit often. So I was like, you know what? So
even fewer during a pandemic.
Yes, 100%. Although shockingly, I had 2 people come visit me that I'm like, okay, well, sure, come on, I guess, you know, if we get COVID, we'll just get COVID together. But I was like, okay, if you want to come. So he built a Murphy bed. So that allowed some extra room. And then freed up a couple of walls. And so, so it's actually in the room that I'm in, which is my guest room / office / workout room / craft / whatever you name it. That's what we'll call it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
That's the room I'm in. So
it's like the junk drawer of rooms.
Exactly.
Yes, at least it's not that junky though.
That's good. That's good.
Well, because there's a tonal in there.
Right, exactly. And
it can't be junky if there's a
I walk
tonal.
in and I'm like, don't touch the tonal. And
Right.
everybody's like, what? And I'm like, this is my baby. I hug it daily. You know, I try to talk nice to it. It still beats me up every day, but it's okay. It's all good. You know, we have a love-hate relationship. But
I'm just curious with all this and the love for the tonal, and I find it fascinating that he's a self-avowed gym rat, and like those are typically the people that come around to tonal last. And do you still have a gym membership?
no.
Look at that.
That's amazing.
I get a gym membership again. We both 100% hands down agree that everything we need, we can get from the tonal as far as weights are concerned.
Yeah.
And we will never go back to a gym membership.
Wow. So in a way, it's kind of like he broke a wedding vow. Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. But that's okay. I married him, gym or not, and actually it was a little bit of a relief because I'm very, very, when we were in the gym all the time, you walk around and true, there are certain types of people that are in the gym. Not that there's anything wrong with who's in the gym, but
It's
it,
intimidating. I'll say it.
extremely intimidating. It is extremely intimidating. And, I actually at 38 was diagnosed with breast cancer. At 39 was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. At 40 had a total hysterectomy.
Oh my word.
So physically, my body pre-tonal, even when I was in the gym 5 days a week, was not a normal body. Like, my body doesn't react to anything anymore. Like, I struggled, whether I ate, whether I didn't eat, whether I did some binge diet, I'd lose and gain it back. It never really, whether I did weights 7 days a week. And that's why when I realized that the tonal was actually working, and, now I'm down 90 pounds, I realized, wait, there's something really here. Like, this is not just a, pop in, pop out type of thing that's going to go away tomorrow. Like, the tonal will always be a part of my life. I will probably be the oldest person to work out on tonal. And I'm sure the coaches will finally be like, Shelley, you need to retire from the tonal.
I don't think they would ever say that.
No,
to you.
because it's great. It's great for whenever, as you age, for real. It's great as you age to continue to work out and lift weights. It helps with mobility and it helps with your bone density. And I could go on.
Yeah, no. And you are right. I mean, I doubt they would ever say that. But yeah, I mean, I'm sold. And I have told, I don't even know how many people, because people are like, okay, what'd you do?
But we have to back up because, you just kind of naturally just, I lost 90 pounds. I mean, that is not a small amount of weight. You can't
she said it so naturally. I didn't realize that she had said that she lost 90 pounds. It totally went by me.
Yeah.
You gotta, you as someone who's lost a lot of weight, not 90 pounds, but I've lost a lot of weight. But, and as also in marketing, you got to juice that story up. Like, you gotta.
Yeah. So we're gonna back it up. Well, hold on. And now tell us. Okay, so where were you when you got the tonal on? Okay, so like, I need to know your whole timeline. I mean, not the whole timeline, but like, okay, you were diagnosed with these medical conditions at 38, 39, and 40. And then at some point you went through, I'm sure, awful treatment that, I mean, obviously it's great because it made you better, but it makes you feel like crap while you're doing it. So did that like make you gain weight? Was it not being able to exercise? Was it just, how did that happen?
It was, the weight gain happened. The weight gain happened because when at 38, my breast cancer was actually estrogen based. So I had to go on an estrogen blocker for 5 years. And
oh my gosh.
For people that don't really realize the inside and out of it, long story short, I basically wanted to put on running shoes and run away. It is a nasty, horrible, there's a lot when it comes to cancer treatment that people don't really talk about, or just kind of, oh yeah, you just be on this medication, it'll be fine. And the effects, that the long-term effects, now it's getting better as far as that particular medication, because I stopped taking it at my 5-year marker. But yeah, it was ugly. So at 38, I had my breast cancer, did 30 rounds of radiation, which again, I didn't realize how tired I would be. I thought, oh, just with chemo is when you get extremely tired. No, like it would be all I could do. And I worked through all of my treatment, all of my cancers. I never missed a day of work. Now I did for my surgery, and then I missed 2 weeks because I couldn't drive. But I basically was like, no, I need to get back. I need to find some sense of normal. And so it was 2015 when I had my breast cancer, February 2015. Went through treatment, rang the bell in June. They were like, you're good. Now we just, monitor you. Everything will be good. Fast forward to January 2016, I had known that when I was pregnant with my daughter, I found out that I had some thyroid issues. And my doctor, my endocrinologist, was like, at some point in time, we'll get a baseline ultrasound on your thyroid, but you're fine. You know, you need to, I was taking thyroid medication after I had my daughter, but you know, they were like, it'll be fine. You'll be fine. So went to the doctor, to the endocrinologist after my breast cancer. And my endocrinologist said, you know, have you ever had a baseline thyroid ultrasound? Most, you know, thyroid people that have thyroid issues will do that. I'm like, no. And then he's like, well, I tell you what, when you can get around to it, just get that done for me. But there was no sense of urgency. So I said, oh, okay, you know, life happens. I've got a kid, a husband, which is like a second kid. You know, I mean, just life happens.
My kid can't make a Murphy bed.
I was like, hey, he's building stuff for you. Our kids don't do that.
No, our kids don't know. Now she's 16 and I'm like, oh, my lands, does somebody have a manual, something to tell me what to do?
Yeah.
Amen.
But yeah, so my doctor finally was like, no, really, we need to get a baseline ultrasound. And I'm like, okay. Another doctor's visit. Okay, fine. I'll go, you know, fine. So of course it couldn't be the year of my breast cancer because, you know, I hit my deductible real quick with that.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
the
I
next
bet.
year. So went in, did this ultrasound and thought, okay. And like 3 or 4 days later, the doctor called me and I'm driving down the road and he said, hey, so I got your results back from your thyroid ultrasound. And I'm like, okay, you know, what is it? You know, no big deal. And he's like, I'm shocked to tell you that you have thyroid cancer. And I thought, wait, what? I'm sorry. I'm driving home. Wait.
I know. I was like, he told
this
me
is
this.
something they call you into the office
Yeah.
for, not.
No. And they didn't call me into the office with my breast cancer either. That was a funny story. I'll tell you about that. But yeah, it's amazing to me. No, they don't call you into the office. They basically tell you over the phone. And I went,
At least they pull over.
Yeah.
yeah, no. I know, right? I'm thinking I'm behind okay. Luckily, I was at the front of my subdivision. So I turned in and I went home and, you know, called my husband from the garage because I didn't want my daughter to hear. And I was like, you need to come out to the garage. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, you know, normally
He
I'm not.
does the garage talks too, Tom.
Come out. Yeah. He's like, why are we talking in the garage? Like, what's the deal? And he was like, yeah, what's up? And I was like, I got a phone call. And he's like, okay. And I said, I have thyroid cancer. And it was very that's how it came out. And he went, okay, we'll figure it out. That's what we do, is we figure it out, you know? And I think because having gone through breast cancer the calendar year before, that's just what, you know, I mean, you become resilient and you just say, you know what, it's a fight or flight type of situation. My breast cancer was stage 1, very, very easy to catch, easy to cure. I'm very blessed. But yeah, it was just one of those, it was kind of a punch in the gut when the thyroid cancer came, because I was like, wait, didn't I do breast cancer last calendar year? And why,
Right.
you know, like, really? Okay, what's the deal? But yeah, I mean, luckily with my thyroid cancer, it was a simple thyroidectomy. So they completely removed my thyroid.
Oh.
However, with that coming out, they were like, then I had to do radioactive iodine, which is a little bit crazy when they, you know, pull out like this big tube and then they have another tube and then you've got a little pill bottle and they're like, okay, so I'm going to double glove. And I'm like,
But that's
okay.
going in my body.
Here,
Great.
yeah, you put on these gloves. And I'm like, okay. And then they give you a Dixie cup this big and they put a pill in your hand and they're like, you're going to take this. And once you take this, you will be radioactive. So you need to leave the hospital immediately. And what kind of vehicle do you have? And I was like, SUV. And they're like, does it have a third row? And I said, yes. And they said, did you come with somebody? I said, my husband. And they went, okay, he's driving. And I said, yeah. And they were like, okay, you need to sit in the passenger seat, third row. And I'm like,
gosh.
wait, what? And they were like, and go straight home. Oh, okay. It was like it was out of a sci-fi movie. Like,
Well, how long do you have to stay away from them?
It was, I think it was just that evening. By the time we went to bed, it was fine, but it was for hours during, like, my daughter came home from school and I'm like waving from the doorway.
Yeah.
Hey, dinner was served on a tray to my door. I'm like, okay, I'll just sit outside.
So there's an upside.
Yeah, I'm
They're
like,
bringing
"Oh,
you
beer."
They're bringing you dinner in bed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, well, at least it's a warm bed. At least it's more comfortable than I would assume other places that serve you, a meal outside your door.
Talk about trendsetter, though. You were social distancing before it was cool.
That's true.
You know what? I really was.
You were way ahead of the curve.
I know, I never imagined that, fast forward to, 2020, that's what, that's what we'd be doing. But I didn't think about that. I was. Wow, I have to remember that. But yeah, so after I did the radioactive iodine, did a scan, and they were like, okay, all is good. You're cancer free. And I went, okay, I don't get to ring a bell or anything. Cause with my breast cancer, they make a big deal. They walk down the hall, you ring the bell, and it's like everybody that you don't know is clapping, and you're like, oh, but yeah, with thyroid cancer, they're like, okay, see you later. If you have any issues, let us know. I was like,
see, it's back to marketing. There's no Komen race for the thyroid cancer cure.
That's a good point.
They don't get bells or nothing.
No,
you just get a pill and just stay away from your family for a day.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I guess good, you can binge watch whatever you want to watch, but, and then, they were like, you have to use your own bathroom. You have to like wipe everything down. It was all a little crazy. Again, very sci-fi like. It made me really realize that I probably wouldn't do well in a science fiction life.
Oh.
But
kind of are though.
Well, I guess I am. I guess that's true.
We all are at this point. I mean,
we really all are. Yeah.
So when did where in relation to all the medical stuff did the weight loss come in? Was that during while this was all going on?
Well, actually, no. During all of it, whether I ate right and exercised, whether I sat on the couch and did nothing, I gained weight. I couldn't, there wasn't, and all the doctors were like, well, I mean, your thyroid's gone. This is what we've got to give you. So your thyroid, of course,
that regulates a lot of those things
and regulate your weight.
Yeah.
So I, jumped forward to 2020 and everything happening. I hadn't been on the scale in, I don't know, a year and a half, because I was like, okay, I'm just bit,
this is my life now.
Right.
This is my life. This is what I am. I'm cancer free, but I'm just heavy. Like that's what it is. And, I never imagined that I would get to that point. I was very, very, I'm a very outgoing person, but I was very, very, I was just frustrated. I was upset. I'm living with an ex-personal trainer that, can go, I feel like I've gained a little bit, and, skip a meal, and then he's down 3 pounds.
He's like, let me do 2 setups. Oh yeah, we're good. Back to normal.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, really? And he's like, as I've aged, it's been different. And I'm like, is it?
You're like, not like this.
Like, really? And I was like, we had talked about the tonal and had ordered the tonal, and I finally was like, okay, the tonal comes in, I'm all excited. I'm like, ooh, I'm going to do my first workout, and it pops up and it's like, enter your height and your weight. And I'm like, oh, you jerk. I was like, you'd like to know that, wouldn't you? And I was like, I don't even know what I want. At that point, I really had I knew I had gained some weight, but I just didn't know exactly where I was at. And so I stepped on the scale cried. I stepped back on the scale because I really wanted to make sure the scale was crying, and it wasn't. I didn't need to throw it out the window.
Yeah.
You had that moment of denial where you're like, oh, that can't be right.
I was like, wait, hold on. Maybe I need to, use the restroom. Wait, hold on. Maybe I think it's this shirt. This shirt has to weigh at least, I'd say about 50 pounds.
Yeah.
It's the shirt. It's, it's my bones weigh more. I mean, like,
You're probably still radioactive and throwing
that's
off.
exactly what it is. And radioactivity must weigh more than a normal person.
It's
my
throwing off the scale sensitivity.
Exactly.
Is what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I got on the scale and it said I was 244 and a half pounds. And that, they always say you will have that aha moment.
Was that it?
That was my aha moment. That was my, what in the world am I doing? How did I get here? And how do I get back to where I need to be?
Yeah.
And that's when my moment came into, perspective in the sense of, if I can beat cancer twice, then weight loss is not going to be my killer. It's just not. I can't. I'm not going to allow it to be.
So I have a question, and this is somewhat medical. So like, if you don't have an answer, just tell me you don't have an answer. Like, but if the thyroid regulates weight loss, then, or the body's weight, then like, what about tonal kind of powers or just strength training in general powers through and overrides that? Do you know?
Well, the only thing that I can truly figure out, and again, with my husband's background, the only thing we can figure what's actually has been working and making a difference and almost like my breakthrough is my husband one day, because, I was doing weight training and, they say that, of course, muscle mass, you've got all these calculations to figure out, what weighs more weight, muscle or, all that kind of stuff. And, I was like, I really want to figure out how to use the tonal to be able to truly lose this weight. And my husband, of course, with the medical background, started doing some research, started looking into, what can help, how can, what can you do with somebody that has had a hysterectomy in menopause, had breast, basically put in me as a, medical, anatomy, whatever the word is.
Anomaly.
Anyway, thank you. I don't know why I can never say that. And he stopped and he said, you know what? He goes, one thing we haven't considered or haven't tried is the tonal has high intensity workouts. And I'm like, okay, so you want to kill me? And he's like, no, I don't want to kill you. He's like, but he's like, I'm wondering if maybe doing a high intensity, like doing a HIIT workout, and then on some level after that workout, figuring out so many meals, basically going keto, going no carbs. And I thought, I've tried everything else and I really want to love the tonal and I really want to be, I really want to make this work. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. I've tried everything else and I didn't want it to be another diet. I didn't want it to be something that my concern was with all of this was I didn't want it to be something where I got frustrated, got upset, walked away, and never wanted to come back.
Yeah. Can it be a lifestyle?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So I said, you know what? At this point, what do I have to lose? And that's exactly what we both said. He's like, what do you have to lose? Either
90 pounds, apparently.
Well, yeah. Well, I've got a few more to lose, but yeah, so far 90 pounds. But he was like, it can't hurt you. He's like, medically, he's like, and I can tell you from an exercise perspective, it can't hurt you to just try it. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. So, I'm looking up on Tonal and I'm like, oh, look, there's a high intensity program. Okay, sure. Let's pop into that. That shouldn't be too hard. After about 5 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, well, I thought I was doing good on the tonal, but tough.
That's when you found out he's not trying to kill you, but he is willing to risk it.
I'm like, wow, exactly. He's like, is the life insurance policy paid up? No. But yeah, so I was like, okay, and then he said, immediately, whatever the meal is. So like if I did high intensity, this first time, I think I did it after lunch before dinner, right? Like that's when I did my workout that day, like mid-afternoon. So did this high intensity workout, after I caught my breath and after I thought, wow, okay. In a 30-minute time frame, I thought I was more in shape. Am I not? He was like, okay, now 6 meals, no carbs. And I went, okay. Wanted to eat my right arm off and then my left arm off, and then wanted to eat his arms off. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to try. I'm like, I'm willing to try. And so did it and made it through that night, made it through the next day, no carbs. I did a workout even that next day. Then by the time the third day, I guess it was right after lunch, and I'm like, oh my God, I get to have carbs. I can't wait. What's my first meal going to be? What's it going to be? And he's like, I mean, are you really that excited? I'm like, yes, I miss my carbs. And I was like, tomorrow I'll get on the scale. I was like, I try to get on the scale first thing in the morning, got on the scale that next morning, and I had lost. And I went, wait, what? Okay, that's got to be just a fluke. So I just went along my business. I was counting calories and have been counting calories the whole entire time as well. And tracking my food in a food app, diary on my phone. Anything I put in my mouth, I put on my app. And just said, it is what it is. I mean, and then went back to eating normal, and I had lost probably a half a pound more after I'd even started eating normal again. I thought, okay, well, that's cool. Great.
Yeah.
Maybe that jump started it.
Yeah.
And, and I said, okay, I'm doing another hit. My husband's like, whoa. Like, you don't want to do them one after another. He's like, you need to give your body some time to readjust and then kind of spring it on it. It's like, you're kind of going to go up.
Yeah. You want to shock the system. Want to shock the system. Yeah.
Right. Well, I could, at that point, I was like, I saw weight loss. I was like, I haven't seen weight loss. Oh my gosh, I could just do it every day. And he's like, no, it's not healthy for you to do it every day. He's like, don't do it every day. And
the weight loss would stop. Like it wouldn't have kept working. So
correct. So, the logical side of me knew that. The excited side that I actually had seen my number go down.
Yeah.
Was like,
it's hard not to be like, more is more.
Right.
If one's good, two's better.
Right.
That's what I thought. And he was like, no, don't, give your body a break. He's like, it's healthy. Even that rest day. He's like, it's healthy to do it. You need to do it. I'm like, okay. So fast forward, that was last February when I started on Tonal. Like, I started my first workout. I just celebrated my year anniversary on Tonal. And so it was shortly after that. So I'd say, once I got familiar with Tonal and kind of knew what was going on, it might've been March when I did the first HIT program. And I saw the weight loss. And I thought, okay, maybe there's something to this. And so about a week and a half later, I was like, and I had been weighing every day, and it fluctuates. I'm a woman, water weight, I don't know. I looked at you name it. I can come up with any excuse of why my weight fluctuates. But it is
everybody's weight does.
Like,
that's not
my weight fluctuates. I'm not a woman, but I have watched every episode of Desperate Housewives, but maybe that's why.
Both sexes can enjoy.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. But
all sexes can enjoy.
Yeah. I've had many a WTF moment. What the fluctuation?
Yeah. I really do like that. I might have to make a little sign that says that. But yeah, so then a week and a half passed, and I was like, okay, I've recovered from my HIT, the first initial HIT workout. I'm going to do it again. It was almost like a science project.
Yeah.
Because that's all I've been is a science project, for the past 6-7 years. So I was like, I'm sure we'll see how this goes. It was probably a fluke. Did another HIT workout, did another 6 meals, no carbs, lost weight again. And I thought, I'm starting to think that there's something to this. But, and my husband's like, do you think that I didn't tell you about that? He's like, really? You're just catching on now, and I'm like, well, I really wanted to eat my arm off the first time, so I wasn't sure what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
But,
When you could have, because your arm is no carbs.
Right. That's true.
yes. Well, I know, right? But that would be a little cannibalism. And
Yeah,
I'm not
I mean,
really
it's
sure. I mean, I'd have to pick the right arm
yeah.
because I'm left-handed. So, it would be bad otherwise. What would I do?
Plus, how would you cut it up?
Well, exactly. Yeah, I had to think about that for a second, but yeah, you're right.
I know we're gonna get a letter from a one-arm listener that's like, I can absolutely cut my own food, like I.
100%.
Yes, because
And
that's what everyone's going to be focusing on in this conversation.
but on Tonal, and that's what they're gonna say. And I could work out on Tonal.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
they can.
absolutely. And that is so true.
They are my hero at that point because
Absolutely.
so that's kind of what started the high intensity for me. And so I would try to kind of hop into different high intensities just to, just because every coach is different. But yeah, so that is kind of my secret to.
Are you still doing that same formula?
Mhm.
Wow. And we should say, just from a diet and nutrition standpoint, that works for you, but every single specific person is different. We are not recommending that anyone else try that. And if you are going to try that, talk to your doctor first.
100%. And that's what I was going to say. I mean, like I said, my husband does have a medical background. I had talked to my physician. My physician was aware of, and I'm still under physician care just because my physician, they just track me because having had cancer, and they always will. Sure. But yeah, so definitely that's something. If you have any other, luckily, because I had already been through all the cancer, medically, I was healthy. Mm-hmm. It was just, I was overweight. So I didn't have any other underlying health issues. Yeah. So yes, I would definitely say if that's something that somebody's interested in, to talk to their doctor, or nutritionist and see what they think. But so far that's what's worked with me.
I mean, that's incredible. 90 pounds in less than a year. That is just incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. And it was funny because I initially posted, I joined the Tonal community and I initially posted this post and, put my picture up and I thought, we'll see if anybody notices it, because I've been weighing in and I've been, for myself, and I told somebody this, I gave somebody the suggestion of this. They were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. What'd you do? What's your secret? I've gotten people messaging me and I'm like, this is what I've done. If you're healthy and, definitely talk to somebody before just jumping in and doing it. But somebody was like, oh my gosh, I just don't see the difference. This is what I've lost. And I said, well, what I did was I found I found a picture. The only picture that I could find, which I absolutely cannot stand the picture. However, it's my first picture so that I can take progress pictures against that picture.
Absolutely.
So as I kind of hit my milestones, as I've been going along, I have my husband take a progress picture in the same pose, in the same shirt, the progress pictures have been in the same background. The initial picture was, at my office, so I couldn't be in the same background, but so that I could, because people kept telling me, wow, you look amazing. And it's really hard. I think because I was large for so long, it was really hard to really start to see it. Mm-hmm. You look at yourself in the mirror every day and sure, I mean, could I tell my face looked a little different? Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But it was until I put the side-by-side pictures that I really went, oh, okay, I see it now. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely a suggestion, something that I would suggest to people. I mean, don't be afraid to take those pictures. I did it in clothes. I mean, I know some people take pictures. I'm not one of those that, wanted to be in a bathing suit, that's just not me. Sure. If that's you, wonderful, go mm-hmm. for it. But continue to take your picture. For me, it was a shirt because I knew I could always wear the shirt. even if I had to pull the excess of the shirt to the side to be able to see the difference, I knew that I could always have that shirt. A bathing suit at some point in time is going to get too big, and then, you know.
Then what?
Yeah. Then what?
Now you're taking a different kind of picture.
Exactly. And nobody wants that on the internet.
Hopefully that nobody, you are married.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that is true. So that's, you know, that's kind of been the secret to my success. I mean, a lot of it
became your own thyroid.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your husband built your thyroid too.
Yeah.
He is quite the builder.
He is quite the builder. Don't tell him that. He's going to watch this and then it's going to be a whole big thing. And, I'm kidding. But no, I mean, that's been, you know, that for me, I knew I was losing and I could tell I was feeling better. And I could tell, you know, people that I hadn't seen in a while were like, what happened? I mean, I had people go, oh my God, you know, you've been through all these cancers. You're not sick, are you? I'm like, no, I'm just healthy. You know what I mean? Like, and they were like, what'd you do? And I'm like, it's the tonal. I'm telling you, it's the tonal. It is the secret that nobody, I mean, tonal wants to get out, but you know, I guess it's not that, you know, it's just one of those things that, I mean, it has changed my life forever. And I don't know that I will never look at weight training the same. If I never set foot in another gym, I am 100% fine with that.
Do you do any other kind of content on Tonal, or do you stick just to the HIIT classes? Oh no, I have been in and out of probably every program there is, just at least out of curiosity. I might go to one and be like, I am definitely not there yet. But no, I actually have been through, probably 2 or 3 of Coach Paul's different, you know, strength and conditioning. I've done yoga. I've done a couple of like the dance classes, the dance cardio classes. The mobility, like the stretch and mobility, I have realized that as I'm getting older, there is something to be said about saying, you know what, I'm going to take 5, 10, 15 minutes and actually stretch. Mm-hmm. And actually I did one earlier today because my hips, I've got a little hitch in my giddy up, so to speak, but I was like, I was like, I think I've been walking too much. And I'm like, oh, my hip, I feel like I've got a pain in my hip. And I was like, I'm going to hop on and allow myself the time to recover. And I think that also is key. It's great to do the high intensity classes. It's great to do all the programs, but there are also so many good recovery programs, even if it's not full yoga. I mean, yoga is great as well, but actual recovery for different body parts that as I'm getting older, I'm realizing is such a benefit if you actually take the time to do them. So that's really, to me, that's been kind of key as well, is giving my body grace when I need it. Yeah. And not beating myself up, because I think, while the leaderboards are fantastic, I love them. And I'm sure my husband's standing outside the door listening to this and is going to go, and my daughter. I am an extremely competitive person. I do not like to lose. I do not like to be told I can't do something, because then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do it better, stronger, harder, faster, and I'm going to whip your. Yeah. That's just how I am. There's this like inner animal that comes out, and my husband's like, okay, you go over there, whoever this extra, whatever this is, and bring back my wife, please. It's like, but I've realized, so I love the leaderboard. I love seeing that. I love watching my strength scores. The Tonal just is the whole entire package. I mean, it's got everything to allow you to succeed. And I think it's just a matter of
figuring it out. And if you don't know how something works, asking about it, or, you know, being a little bit competitive, there's nothing wrong with it. So, you know.
No, that's true.
Absolutely.
The healthy competition is a good thing. Whatever the drive is, that's what works.
Yeah. So do you have any advice for people who are just now getting a tonal?
You know, I would definitely say go through the initial class, getting to know your tonal, or, you know, even though you're like, it's only like 20 pounds, because doing this type of resistance training is so different than normal free weights and normal just being in the gym. And explore. I mean, check out a class, do a live class. To me, live classes, I was so excited because that was one thing that was a concern of mine before the live classes came out. I'm like, am I going to get bored? Am I going to get to the point where I walk in and go, oh, hey, tonal, okay, I guess I'll do it, and not be excited about it. But I have found over time that hopping into classes, and they're adding content constantly. So, you know, doing the research on your tonal or on your app, and, you know, checking things out. Like if you're interested in a high intensity class or what something is, look it up and try it. I mean, you know, there's nothing, even if you can't finish the whole class the first time, that's a goal for you to set for yourself to, you know, work towards finishing that class, and just give yourself grace.
Excellent advice.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Before we let you go, let everybody know where they can find you if you would like to be found.
Certainly. I am on Tonal, and I have to look up my username. Is that bad? I'm like, I don't usually look myself up. Let me see. It is, I am Shelley, Shelley, 1976. Yes, that is the year of my birth. I didn't realize what I was doing when I put it in, and I made my and I am on Instagram just as Shelley Black. But yeah, I mean, look me up, and if you have questions or even just want to work out somebody to hold you accountable, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to give you, you know, cheer you on. I'll be your biggest cheerleader, and I'll push you when you need to be pushed. And I won't, you know, set your goals and stick to them.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Shelley. This has been great to hear and so inspiring. And I know a lot of other people are going to be really excited to hear it too. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm so excited for y'all. This is it's such an exciting thing to hear all the testimonials, and it's just kind of fun to get to know people better.
It is. It's neat to hear where everybody's from and like how they use the tonal. 'Cause, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can get a good workout from it and have different goals and just everything different. So it's great to hear how everybody goes about it.
100.
And you have such a inspiring way of speaking to people. So I think people will really get a kick out of hearing your story. I hope that from here on out, you have nothing but good health in front of you, because you deserve it after all of that.
Yes.
Well, thank you. And you know, if y'all have any more questions, or, you know, if you ever want to do this again, you know where to find me.
Okay.
Or if you want to work out together, let me know.
Definitely.
So I guess that brings this episode to a close. Until next time, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/CrystalDO'Keefe, and they can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and the Tonal leaderboard at ClipOutCrystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Superset Podcast. While you're there, be sure and like the page and join the group. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep lifting.
Smart training, there you are. Customize, make it right. AI, form and vibe. Superset will show you what it's all about. It's a Tonal
The Superset is made possible in part by support from Tonal.